Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Mina, and today I will be presenting Nutrition and Obesity, Learning to Manage Disease Through Education. So a little bit of background about myself. My educational background, I received my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology back in 2007. I received my Master's of Education in Professional Counseling in 2015, and I'm currently a Master's of Science in Applied Nutrition candidate for 2020. And my professional experience primarily, I work as a operations training specialist, teaching individuals new to my company about medical backgrounds in our corporate systems, working with workers' comp patients. And this is actually a picture of me over in the corner. My interest in obesity itself is primarily due to my personal experience with obesity. Most of my family actually struggles with obesity, particularly as they've gotten older and further into life. I've seen the health impacts that it has on them. I've actually also struggled with obesity in my early childhood and into my early adulthood until I managed to overcome some of the factors that were preventing me from living a healthier lifestyle and living at a healthier weight. So I believe that nutrition education is one of the things that really aided me in learning how to live a healthier lifestyle and live at a healthier weight. So a bit of a roadmap of what we'll be going over today. So we'll touch on obesity background, then we'll look at some useful terms that we'll encounter, then the risk factors, diseases, and contributors to obesity, obesity and its impact on the workforce, the causes of obesity, and then we'll be looking at what you can focus on, what you can control to develop a healthier lifestyle and overcome obesity. So just some key goals and learning objectives for today. By the end of this, you will be able to describe the prevalence of obesity within the United States. You'll be able to identify risk factors, diseases, genetic and environmental contributors that are associated with obesity. You'll be able to distinguish between a healthy weight, overweight, and obesity. You'll be able to describe the benefits of good nutrition, physical activity, and maintaining a healthy weight. And finally, you'll be able to identify daily opportunities to make small, healthy changes to your current lifestyle. So some background on obesity. Obesity can be defined as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that may impair health. In 2016, the prevalence of obesity within the United States was 39.8% of the US population. This calculates out to approximately 93.3 million US adults struggling with obesity. Approximately 35% of men are struggling with obesity, while about 40.4% of women are also struggling. Obesity is linked to more deaths worldwide than underweight is. Useful terms that we will encounter throughout the presentation. We have body mass index, or BMI, so that is your weight to height ratio calculated using a specific formula, which is BMI equals your kilograms divided by your meters squared, so your weight converted into kilograms and then your height converted into meters. Overweight is considered a BMI of more than 25 but less than 30. And then we have obesity. Anything over 30 is considered obese. However, you can further define that into 3 different classes. So class 1 is a BMI of 30 to 35. Class 2 is a BMI of 35 to 40. And then class 3, which is considered extreme or severe, is a BMI of 40 or higher. Some more useful terms. Now these useful terms that I have here, they're not actually anything that I expect you to remember or to write down or anything like that. It is just something that I will be touching on later, so I will go over them now so you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about later on in the presentation. Like I said, it's nothing that you need to have memorized or anything like that. So you have your total daily energy expenditure, which is your TEE. and that's the amount of calories that you burn in any given day. So within your total daily energy expenditure, you actually have 4 different things that make that up. So you have your basal metabolic rate, that is your BMR. So that is the rate at which your body uses energy while at rest to keep your vital functions going, so your temperature control, your breathing, etc. So basically, this is the amount of calories that you would burn in a given day if you just sat on the couch all day and didn't move. Okay. Then you have your thermic effect of food, so your TEF, which is actually really small. So it's the amount of energy that your body uses to digest the food that you eat. Then you have your exercise activity thermogenesis, that can be abbreviated as EAT. So that is the amount of energy that you use during deliberate exercise. So if you're going to the gym and you're lifting, or you're going to spin class, or if you're going for a run, this is the amount of energy that you're using during that period of time. So whether it's an hour, if it's 2 hours, that's what makes up your EAT. And then you have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which can be referred to as NEAT. So this is the amount of energy that you use during the day with your day-to-day activities. So when you're sitting at your desk and you get up to go get water, or you get up to go to the bathroom, if you go for a walk, if you park further from the grocery store to get in, that all counts as NEAT, so non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Continuing on, we have your nutrition facts labels. So these are required by the Food and Drug Administration. It is a label on foods that give you a breakdown of the nutrients in the food, and includes your calories, your protein, your fat, and your carbs that are in the food itself, along with your sodium and all that other stuff. You have portion size. So this is the amount of food that you choose to eat for one meal or for a snack. And then you have your serving size, and that is the actual measured amount of food or drink that's indicated on your nutrition facts label. And we'll be doing an exercise later today on how to actually read that. So risk factors, diseases, and contributors to obesity. So obesity places an individual at risk to develop a number of different things. So high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and by high cholesterol I mean high LDL cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, sleep apnea, depression, and cancer. So all things that eventually, optimally, we would like to avoid in the long run. So getting a handle on obesity and learning to manage obesity helps to lower our risk for the development of some of these diseases. So then we have obesity in the American workforce. So it's not just that it's associated with a number of serious health risks. It actually increases healthcare and disability costs. So the probability of needing short-term disability increases about 25% as the level of obesity rises. So as obesity gets worse, the chances that an individual will need to go out on short-term disability, possibly for an injury or because of a disease that they developed due to obesity, increases. Obesity is also associated with lower levels of productivity, decreased quality of life, and increased mortality. And there's also a higher prevalence of work limitations in comparisons to employees of a normal weight. So by limitations, I mean, are they able to walk as far into the office? So does their desk need to be moved closer to the door because it's more difficult for them to actually have to get to their desk every morning. Then we also have different types of chairs that might be needed, or FMLA, those types of accommodations that might need to be made due to obesity. So some additional occupation-related consequences include work absence, so higher chances of missing work, which affects pay, work impairment and limitation, and then workplace injury, so your chances of actually injuring yourself in an office actually increases. And then just another fact, So absenteeism related to obesity costs about $8.65 billion per year. So that is actually almost 12.6% of the total absenteeism costs per year for an individual company, or across the United States, I'm sorry. And then the estimated healthcare expense for obese individuals, um, for men, it's approximately an additional $11,060 or $1,160, sorry, and $1,525 for women. So pretty significant increased costs in terms of healthcare. Some of the causes of obesity. Generally, obesity is believed to be caused by an imbalance of energy, so your calories consumed versus the calories burned. This is a very simple explanation of what can cause obesity. So there is a genetic aspect, so like my own family. Studies have shown that individuals' chances of obesity increase by 25% if one or both of their parents are obese. Genetics also influences where you may carry excess weight. Then metabolic. So studies have shown that hormones such as ghrelin, which regulates your appetite, can play a role in triggering your hunger and the feeling of fullness experienced after eating. So hormones react differently in everyone, and these can impact how an individual gains weight. To get a little bit more personal with you guys, I have an autoimmune disease. My thyroid does not work properly. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And one of the things that my thyroid controls is hormones and metabolics. So for me, that was something that I had to overcome in terms of managing my weight. And then we have lifestyle. So low physical activity, along with diets that are high in calories, sugar, and fat, contribute significantly to weight gain. So that's your excess calories versus your not excess calories out. So additional influence in that situation can also be your food environment, which we'll go over in a few minutes. So the biggest thing that anybody should take away from anything is that we need to focus on factors that we can control. So while your genetics and metabolism can play a role in obesity, these are things that are manageable. They're not some things that can be changed. I can't change the fact that I have thyroid disease. I can't change my genetics, but I can manage them. So focusing on areas of weight management that you can specifically change and control helps to make losing weight and maintaining that weight loss easier and a little bit less stressful. And by easier, I don't mean that it's going to come super easily for you. It's just not going to feel as overwhelming. So as I mentioned, so your food environment, that's one thing that can significantly impact your calorie consumption throughout a single day. So your food environment can be defined as how the presence of food can impact your diet and behavior. So, for example, an office can have vending machines that are stocked with high-calorie snacks and drinks. So you could go to the vending machine, they're going to have Doritos, they're going to have candy, they're going to have soda, all of those things. It's really easy to make the decision to consume those types of foods when you're constantly presented with them. So one way to overcome that food environment is to bring a healthy lunch to work, and snacks that are pre-made out, so that way you don't have to go to those vending machines and try to make a healthier choice. You already have those choices available to you, so they're easier to grab throughout the day. You can also do this in your house. So I know for myself that if there's, let's say, chocolate around, and I'm hungry, I'm more likely to reach for the chocolate than I am to reach for the apple that's sitting right next to it. So for me, I try to keep most of that stuff out of my home. It makes it a little bit easier for me to actually avoid eating it. Whereas if I really want it, I have to go get it. And at that point, I know I really want it, so I have to go get it, right? But making sure that I bring my own food to work and bringing snacks throughout the day, it makes my life so much easier because I don't have to make that decision to eat a healthier food. It's already been decided for me. So moving on, sedentary lifestyles. So I know that my job itself is primarily sitting down, with the exception of days that I'm training where I'm on my feet for 8 hours. But for the most part, I work at a desk for a large portion of the day. Um, it's not always an option for me to get up and walk around the office. I do have the option to get up to go get water more frequently, or because I'm drinking more water, I have to go to the bathroom more often. I know I will go for a walk at lunchtime or at my break times around the office buildings just so I can get my need up, right? So I can get a little bit more exercise and a little bit more movement into my day during the days when I'm stuck at my desk all day. In most modern offices, workers are primarily sitting at their desk for large portions of their day. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to try and maintain an active lifestyle because our jobs are primarily sedentary. But there's different ways to get around that, which we'll go over. So, some benefits of good nutrition. By consuming whole, healthful foods, that does help with weight loss. It also reduces your risk of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and cancer, your risk of high blood pressure and cholesterol. I know when I eat healthier, I have more energy. I don't get sick as often. I don't hurt myself as often. So, good nutrition gives you more energy. It gives you a better ability to fight illness and injury. And then we have our benefits of physical activity. So, not only does it help you to control your weight, but it does combat health conditions such as obesity, heart disease, diabetes, all those other things. So, with increased activity, your risk factors for some of those diseases decreases. It can improve your mood, so it makes you much happier. For the most part, it increases your energy. You sleep better at night, which also increases your energy. You strengthen your muscles and your bones, which also helps to prevent injury. Your skin might improve, and you have better memory and brain health, and chronic pain. So if you deal with a chronic injury, physically moving and working out and doing those things within the limitations that you may have can actually reduce any pain that you actually experience on a daily basis. So, when it comes to managing obesity and the things that you can do to help you manage obesity or help a loved one to manage it, it can be a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of information out there that may or may not be may not be completely accurate. So the biggest thing is I would say know your daily energy needs. And by this, I don't mean that you need to count calories or anything like that, but you should know in general how many calories your body or your loved one's body needs throughout a day. It's easier to hit a goal when you know what that goal is, I should say. So I like to say what gets measured gets improved. So this is where your BMR, your TEF, your EAT, and your NEAT matter. So by basically getting up your non-activity thermogenesis throughout the day, and making sure that you're consuming within a certain amount of calories. So maybe intuitive eating, counting calories if that works for you. It can be overwhelming for some people. For some people, it does work. Just knowing the amount of calories that your body needs within a given day allows you to control the amount of calories that you're consuming. So like I said, not necessarily counting calories, but just knowing what that max number might be. Because if you're looking at nutrition labels, you can kind of keep track in your head throughout the day, right? So there's actually very little that we can do to impact our BMR and our TEF because those are just biologic things. Your BMR is based off of your body size, and that's basically, and your TEF is just a very minimal contributor to the amount of calories you burn in every day. But you can influence your exercise activity thermogenesis and your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So you can get your EAT and your NEAT up every single day, right? So adding intentional exercise into your day allows you to increase the number of calories you burn through intentional exercise, and adding in more movement throughout your day allows you to increase your NEAT. As a helpful hint, increasing your NEAT actually has the largest impact on your daily calorie burn. There's only so much intentional exercise that we can do every day, but we can consistently move more throughout the day. I know nobody wants to spend 6 hours in a gym every single day. That just does not seem like fun, even for me who loves to go to the gym and loves to work out. So simple ways to add in increased activity: parking further from the office, or when you're going into the grocery store or the mall or anything like that, park further away. Don't hunt out for that closest spot. Just find one in the back and walk in. Get up throughout the day so you can get water, go to the bathroom and stretch, obviously within limitations. You don't want to get in trouble at work, but just increasing that daily movement does help. During your break or your lunch, take a walk around the building or through the building, right? I know my office is 4 floors, so if it's rainy or anything like that, I can walk up the stairs and then come back down. Or on great nice days, I can walk throughout the building or around the building. When you're cooking and cleaning during your daily activities, you can put on some music, dance it out, have some fun, stretch, do small exercises. When you're watching TV, we all have our shows that we like to watch. That's great. On commercial breaks, get some movement in, whether it's walking around your house or doing some squats. We have a exercise ball. You could sit on it and just bounce on it. I find that incredibly soothing. So that does work as well. When you're at the mall or even at work, if there's an elevator or an escalator, don't take that. Take the stairs. Gets up your daily movement a little bit. And then making intentional exercise a lot more attainable. So one of the things that I hear quite often, and was an excuse for myself at one point, was the gym is out of my way, right? So I have to go down a different road, or I have to go 15 minutes out of my way on the way to work or on the way home from work to get to the gym. So what I did was I joined a gym that I literally had to drive past every single day without fail. And if I was in traffic, I had one choice. I could either make the turn into the gym, or I could sit in traffic for an hour or, and just sit there. Or I could go to the gym and work out for an hour and then take 20 minutes to get home versus an hour. So it just kind of worked out for me. When you're at the gym, set small, attainable goals. Don't say I want to lose 30 pounds in a month. That's a lot. That's extremely overwhelming, and it's not really attainable. You want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position for success. So it could be something as small as, I want to increase the amount of weights I lift. I want to make sure I get to the gym 3 days this week, right? And whatever that goal might be, once you achieve it, reward yourself. Reward yourself with something that's going to last. So one of the things that I used to use was a new workout top. When I went to the gym consistently for a few days, or if you can't afford that, it could be something even smaller. So whatever motivates you, use that as a goal for yourself. And then controlling your calorie intake. So while moving more throughout your day does help to increase the amount of calories that you burn, understanding what you're consuming is actually a very key element to weight management. So like I said previously, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to count calories, but you should at least be checking nutrition labels so you understand the amount of calories that are in the food that you are consuming, and you can try to manage the number of calories that you are consuming in a single serving or a single portion size. Keeping track of the foods that you eat throughout the day, whether that's mentally or you're using a phone app or anything like that, that does help, just so that you know where you stand throughout the day. Like I said, counting calories can be a bit overwhelming, so it's not necessarily where you want to start or where you want to finish, but learning to intuitively eat based on when you're hungry and making sure that you're paying attention to your hunger cues actually really does help as well. So knowing how to read nutrition labels is a big part of that. So on the right here, we have our nutrition facts label. And if you look at the top of it, it says there's 8 servings per container. So that means the entire container has 1840 calories. So 1,840 calories. That's a lot. So in general, most individuals need about 2,000 calories, give or take, in a day. Like I previously mentioned, it varies based on your weight and your height and your activity level throughout the day. But for the most part, 2,000 calories is a general rule of thumb. So if you were to consume an entire container of this food, that is pretty much all of your calories in one day, right? It says on here that a serving size is 2/3 of a cup or 55 grams, and that equals 230 calories in that one serving. So if you were to measure out your food or even to estimate and have 2/3 of a cup, you know you had 230 calories, whereas consuming the entire container is pretty much all of your calories in a day. So learning how to read that and looking at how much you're serving yourself in your portion does help to keep track of or maintain your calories that you're eating in a day. So your portion size, so like I said before, your previous slide shows how easy it can be to misread a label if you're not looking at how many servings are in a container and what the actual serving size is. You may consume more calories than intended. This happens a lot when we're snacking, right? We'll have like a box of Cheez-Its sitting next to us and we'll just eat out of the box. And before you know it, you ate half the box, and that's a lot more calories than we intended to consume. So measuring that out and taking it and putting it on a plate and then putting the rest of the box away helps to prevent you from mindlessly snacking or accidentally eating much more than you intended. So taking that time to check your label, you're measuring out your food, can help to reduce the total number of calories that you consume in a day. Just making that simple change can actually be really, really helpful. It can be really difficult when eating out. Most restaurants provide large servings, or I shouldn't say large portions of food. One simple way to combat this, as soon as your food comes at the start of the meal, just ask your waitress or your waiter for a to-go container. Divide your food in half, take the rest home. So out of sight, out of mind, right? You can't overeat it if you've already put it away. If you're still hungry, you can consume more. Just make sure you're consuming as needed. So an example of portion sizes and how easy it can be to overestimate what you're actually consuming or underestimate what you're actually consuming. So on the left is a typical portion size that most people might serve themselves on any given day, right? And then you see the actual serving size right next to it. So an actual serving size of pasta is about 1/4 of a cup, or to give you a visual representation, the size of a tennis ball. So that right there is the amount of pasta that you should be eating in one serving, whereas the one on the left is how much that we typically overconsume when we are not paying attention to our serving sizes. In a little while, we will actually be doing a exercise looking at your serving sizes and your portion sizes and learning how to make it look like you're eating more so that your eyes can actually believe that you're consuming more than you actually necessarily need. So we'll go over that exercise a little bit later. For now, we're going to reserve the last few minute or so for any questions that you guys may have. I'm just going to go ahead and forward through here. So thank you for listening to my presentation. And here are the references for everything we spoke about throughout the entire presentation. Thanks. Have a great day.